Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter Show, powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show. Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James. I'm normally joined by Jo, but she's unavoidably detained today, so it's just me by myself. But I'm delighted to be joined by Michelle Flynn. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm very good. Just a little bit of introduction about Michelle. If you've not known her, look her up, by the way, on LinkedIn. Look up her website. She's the founder of Michelle Flynn Coaching, original name. But Michelle is a certified international health coach and works with individuals, that's recruitment organizations as well, to improve well-being through better nutrition, reduce stress, quality sleep, and healthier daily habits. And she's passionate about helping people measure their health by energy and happiness, not just the numbers on a scale, which is something I'm looking at the moment. Michelle, welcome to our show. We're delighted you can join us today.
Thank you very much.
Good. Why don't you start and just give people, I gave that little bit of introduction, but we're going to cover a gamut of topics today, lots of things where I just want to get your views, because you circulate around the recruitment industry, and I want people to understand that you come from that industry. So I think they can listen to you as somebody who's been there and done it. I think that's quite important. You're not just preaching, you're practicing what you preach. So why don't you just give us a brief overview of how your career has reached this particular point? We've been doing this for the last 7 or 8 years, whatever it might be.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's sort of very much like most people in the recruitment world. I fell into recruitment. I graduated, came out of university, didn't know what I was going to do, and fortunately enough, walked through the door of Computer Futures, which I had no idea how successful a business that was. And to be honest, don't really have any idea how I managed to get through the interview process, but I did. I spent 8 years there on the perm side of the office, where I was one of their top billers. And then I went and joined a company as their recruitment manager. So I crossed the fence to the other side and I helped that company scale to exit. And then I set up my own recruitment business where I worked with tech startups and again, scaling them to exit. So very much have worked agency side, in-house, and as a recruitment owner. So as you said, now when I'm coaching people, yes, I've got my my health and well-being hat on, but I've actually got my recruiter hat on.
Yeah. What is it that sort of guided towards coaching? Was it a sense of giving back, or was it something else?
No, it was just pure chance. It actually first started, I had a health scare 10 years ago, which led to me getting rushed off to hospital, and did what most people do at that point, is ignore that had happened. And for 3 years, I was just running my recruitment business. It was going really well. All my clients were on exclusive. So I was kind of living the recruitment dream. But after the first sort of rush to hospital, I collapsed again 3 years later and just was like, do you know what? Something's not right. So went on a little bit of a personal sort of journey of figuring out what was going on. And then just wanted to study more, no plans to use it. But as I started to do more and more studying, I was then qualified, and then people actually started paying me for coaching, which was not a business plan. But I love it. And slowly but surely, I developed that, and my recruitment business had to take a step to the side because my coaching was keeping me really busy. And I've been doing it full time now for coming up to 6 years and just love it. So no plan at all, just chance.
No plan for recruitment and no plan for coaching. Yet here we are talking about recruitment and coaching.
Yeah. You're getting the exact idea, is that there's not a lot of planning. I'm sort of just a big believer in when you work hard, you will succeed, and you don't necessarily have to have all of the answers as to what that's in. But if you're a good person and you put the work in, then hopefully you get the sort of reap the rewards at the end of it.
Yeah, and just to explain a little bit about the type of people you work with. Obviously, I'm sure you probably work outside of recruitment, but let's just keep it this in the recruitment market. Do you work with all sides of companies? Do you work with individuals? Do you work with groups? How does it play out?
So it's all of it. So it can be the leader, and that tends to be when it's sort of the leaders maybe of small to medium-sized businesses, because they're looking for someone to keep them accountable often. And that can be around sort of health and well-being. It can be around their personal life in the sort of life coaching type way, or even on a business point of view. I never sort of pitch myself as a Ned, but I'm certainly there as a good sounding board. It can be the recruiters within the team. So sometimes it might be the high performer that just for some reason isn't performing. And why is that? What's going on? And that's the sort of the mindset piece. Sometimes it's the whole company. And that might be sort of almost like an employee assistance program where anyone in the business can talk to me. And that worked really well because I really then get to know the business and can not only help the teams, but can help the founders. And sometimes it's just a workshop for mental health awareness week, or something going on that they want to bring me in to work sort of with a group of people to sort of coach them in areas. So it's a real variety. So it's kind of whatever there is the problem, give it to me and I will find the solution for it.
So do you see? So you said obviously you're not setting out to be a Ned, but obviously because you have that confidential element, I suppose you sort of have that relationship with the business owners, but also the consultants further down the line, so to speak.
Yeah, and sort of I didn't sell my recruitment business. I didn't grow my business. I'm a terrible people manager. So I'm not the right person if you're looking to do that with your business. But for example, this morning I'm working with someone who's just started his own recruitment business, having run one previously with some other founders. And we are talking about everything, about what market, how does he get into that market? Even today, like how does he get captions onto videos like I do on my LinkedIn? So getting into that nitty gritty, not necessarily the P&L and the margins, but often just that sort of, sounding board to go, does this sound okay? What do you think of my logo? What do you think? And things that I might come up with just from all of the experience of working across lots of businesses, just got quite a broad knowledge range that means that often people can talk to me about such a wide range of things instead of having to go and talk to 10 different people. Potentially I can be the one person that they can come to that can talk across sort of a broad range of life stuff.
Yeah, and forgive me, I don't mean to get personal on this one, but I'm trying to see where the experience, because obviously, having worked for companies, gone in house, and then set up your own business, and if I've got this phraseology wrong, but obviously you reached a point where you said you were rushed into hospital. I'm assuming because of some type of poor health, which had been brought on through the stress of the business, or I don't want to go into the details, or is it?
I think it's hard to say. So basically I had a suspected heart attack. That's what happened at 39. It's quite hard to say because I wasn't feeling stressed at all. My recruitment business was going really well. I didn't have any staff. So I didn't have that responsibility and I had brilliant clients. I think probably if I look back at it now, it was a combination of burnout, having, as every recruiter does, just being on the go all the time.
I suppose that's what I mean, Michelle. Because your experience is you're actually a sounding board, a voice to be talked to. Did you not have that when you were running your own business those last 3 years? So that's what I mean. You can be busy, and notionally thinking, I can handle this stress, but your body told you, I suppose, in some way that actually it's not there. And that's how you can sort of reach out and help people, I suppose, or you've got that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't talking to anybody about it. I was a solo business owner. I wasn't part of any of the amazing networks that I'm now sort of so fortunate to be part of. I was just getting on with things. And I think we all do. We're busy being busy that we don't pause to go, oh, hang on a minute. Why is it that I'm not feeling very well? Why is it that I don't have any energy? And I basically kept going until my body stopped me. And that's what I see with a lot of people is that eventually your body, and there's a whole book about it, like your body keeps the score. And my body just went, no, you're going to stop. Okay. And the aim is to try and prevent people getting to that point and actually to do something about it before that actually happens.
Well, hats off to you for recognising yourself, and obviously, I say it's led you down this particular path. So we've got a number of things that I sort of want to get your opinion of, really, so that people listening, whether they're listening to this live, and if you are, please comment for us. And if you're not connected with Michelle, please do get in touch with her. Michelle appears at numerous events, and I've met Michelle at a couple of places. I actually sat down in the audience of one of Michelle's events recently, the Recruitment Agency Expo. I think I've woken up now, Michelle. I think I was in a trance at the end of that, by the way. Not good for driving back straight afterwards, but there we go. But yeah, so please look up Michelle. She's got some fantastic hints and tips, and she's a sharer Yeah, that's one of those things I think about you, Michelle. But anyway, let's just talk about how we can help people, or how you can help them understand or comprehend how to stay mentally and physically ready for them to be running their own business, or to a recruiter, actively engaging in how they push out into business development. Because that's one of those big challenges out there at the moment. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I think certainly when I first started in recruitment, no one was really thinking about their health. A couple of people in the office might have gone to the gym every now and then, but it was never something that, it was kind of fluffy stuff, really. And I think now, fortunately, timing wise for me, but the realization that if we don't look after ourselves physically and mentally and sort of have those foundations, that how are we meant to be high performing? How are we meant to be able to bring the energy to the calls, to be able to think quickly, to be able to negotiate, all of those things that are really important when you're doing BD, when you're sort of closing candidates, whatever you're doing at that moment, is that we have to make that a priority. And I'm not talking about sort of going to the gym at 4 o'clock every morning. It certainly doesn't have to be that. It's about those small little habits that you can just put into place to make sure that you've got the energy to be able to show up every day, and also the resilience that when things are going sort of not going to plan, how you can keep turning up. Because that's often the point that people struggle, is that things might have been going really well previously, they hit a bit of a bump, people aren't necessarily as consistent as they might like to, and that's where the kind of the mental and the physical really kicks in.
Have you got any sort of guidance or quick bits of advice that you give people in terms of how to, I'm thinking the mental side, not the physical thing, because obviously, the physical side thing, I say go to the gym, if that's what you do, then of course that's there, and that does obviously all the endorphins that get released and all that side of things. But what are there any little things that people can do when they're sat at the desk thinking, I'm going to do some BD, but is there anything they can do to reset themselves pretty quickly, or is that just an impossible?
Yep, no, that's all definitely possible. So if you're in the moment and you're sitting there, and you're sort of feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or you just don't know what to do, your body has moved into sort of the stress, the fight and flight, which means that the rational part of your brain has switched off. Yeah. So everyone else might look at you and go, it's obvious, just pick the phone up. Whereas to you, you don't see that. And the best way to move yourself from fight and flight to calm, which is where all of our logic kicks back in again, is to basically close your mouth, breathe in and out of your nose, and do it slowly. It instantly sends a message to your brain to say, do you know what? There's no danger. You're safe. Your nervous system sort of moves across to the calmer state. And that's where we're then able to get that bit of clarity to go, right, what do I actually need to do?
Yeah, and that and obviously you do a lot of breath work. I have to be careful I say that. You do a lot of breath work, and obviously that exercise you took us through at the Recruitment Agency Expo, I said, that deep breath inside and through the nose, rather than because whilst we're talking, we're breathing, and we're not thinking about using our nose, are we? But obviously, when you sort of close your eyes and think about it, so I suppose that's a nice little tip that people can take away. So when people are out there sort of, this moment in time, a lot of people, and this year, we know this year has been a bit of a strange year, and I know we're all looking forward to next year because it can't necessarily be like this year. I know there are obvious people out there, obviously there are people out there who've had a fantastic year, but a lot of people we're speaking to, whilst things are starting to pick up again, have had a bit of a stressful year. There's been a lot of firefighting out there, and have you got any hints and tips on what people can do to solve problems rather than sort of continually going around in circles fighting the same old problems?
I think the first thing is to actually just stop. And we but I'm too busy to stop. I just need to keep going. And you're like, well, it's kind of the Einstein, and the definition of insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like, take a stop and actually check in what's going on, what's working, what's not working. And you may well, just by doing that, having had that pause, see that, I've just realized that I haven't been doing this thing that used to work for me. I've stopped doing that. And lots of people will kind of say that in the past, I used to have a really good routine for my day. I used to have a really good plan for my day. And now, because I'm stressed, I don't do any of those things. So definitely the first thing, stop, what's going on, keep doing the things that are going really well, and the things that are not working, if you don't know how to solve them, then go and find somebody that can help you, that can solve them. And that might be ChatGPT, that might be looking on LinkedIn and looking at somebody's post that you follow. That might be somebody else within the team, within a network, might be a coach. But don't just sort of expect it to suddenly get better if you're not actually doing anything to change it.
And I think that is really, I think it is that, but it's that the difficulty sometimes of stopping, because you just don't know. You're scared. You can be scared to stop because you don't see it. And it's that reflecting back and identifying what are the good things that I do, what are things that are stopping me, and just learn to stop and get away from those. So, good tip.
I think the thing with that, though, is that you're absolutely right. Sometimes we're just too terrified about what we're going to discover if we actually stop. But all those moments in the day, that in the olden days where we would be in a queue for a coffee and we'd just be thinking, or we'd be sat on a bus and we'd be thinking. And now what we do is we pick these things up. So we actually do already stop quite a lot in the day, but we don't really stop because we pick up and we start scrolling. And that just doesn't help us. So we're not going to find the answers in looking at what somebody's had for lunch. It's about properly stopping, and whether that's sort of doing a little bit of writing, we might want to call it journaling. Some people don't like that word. It might be a little bit of self-reflection, but something to just kind of work it out. Otherwise, you're just going to be in the same situation in 6 months' time.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, I hope people are watching today. I'm hoping that some of them were intrigued, because we put a little trailer into our LinkedIn promotion, which was about how you can learn from an 80-year-old. And I hope, despite how old I may look, I'm not 80, and Michelle definitely isn't 80. So, Michelle, why don't you explain why we asked you to just talk about how an 80-year-old and your inspiration for this particular one?
This is so funny. So, for everyone listening, when we were having our pre-video chat last week, I was actually out of the country on a holiday with my 80-year-old parents, and they decided that they didn't care about etiquette and they were just going to come and get involved in the video, which was quite funny, and it was slightly embarrassing, but funny. But the point of that was that my parents are 80 and they still run their hotel, which they've been doing for 30 years, actually, this weekend. And they are number one on TripAdvisor in their area. And it is amazing to watch them in action. Particularly my mum, she's Irish, she's very chatty, you kind of wonder where I get it from. And she will just talk to everybody. And most of their clients, customers, guests, whatever we would call them, are returning. Someone is leaving, they're already booking in for the following year. And it's looking at the customer service, the relationship building. Like, neither of them have got an Instagram account. My mum hasn't even got a mobile. So this isn't about AI and tech and all of the things that we're all talking about. This is about genuinely people building relationships with people. Though those little touches, she remembers people's birthdays. She'll leave someone a sort of bunch of flowers if they've come for their anniversary, whatever it might be. And I just watch them. And that's actually how I've built both of my businesses, has been all about the people.
And I'm just saying, for those, a lot of people are younger than 80, of course, watching this, probably pretty much everybody. But the reality is, there are things that we can learn from our elders in that side of things, and that's networking. I know it's not recruitment. You might think, well, what does that mean? What's it matter if you remember somebody's birthday? It's really important. Some of the things when we're networking on business development. And I actually wished happy birthday to one of our clients. Literally, it was 31st October. And he was gobsmacked that I'd actually remembered that little point. Now, there's a reason why I could remember it. I was on a call with him yesterday, actually, going through this. And he said, "Oh, thanks for saying happy birthday to me." He said it was really nice. It was like just quite a nice little thing to do, because I'm not in his daily feed or anything like that. And I said, well, I said, I'll confess, it's actually the same date of birth as my mum. So it just sort of sticks as me one of those days. If your birthday, Michelle, is the 15th of March, I'm not saying this, then I haven't got a clue when that might be, and I might forget it. But when we're networking, when we're trying to build relationships, you're remembering some of those little points. They're all little things which make you memorable. And because people still buy from people, we talk about the technology that's out there and all the automations and all those things that are going on in the world of recruitment at this moment in time. But it's that personal touch that can make the difference. And so your mum, in terms of, being out there, and she was networking with us on this on that video, which is why we brought it into this conversation. And one little final piece about your mum: not only does she not own a mobile phone, it looks like she doesn't own a card, because she came to say to you, "Can you pay for the bill?"
I know, exactly. But she has no fear. And I think that's kind of the thing with BD, is that she doesn't have that fear that often we have, whether it's going and being the first person to say hello or picking the phone up. She just gets on with it. I'm very grateful that she's sort of been the person that I've really probably learned most of my skills from. And it really matters. It's sort of in coaching, when I'm talking to people, and I take a lot of notes. But if I say to someone, "Oh, remember 6 months ago, we were working on this and this was going really well, but what's happened? Oh, you stopped doing that thing." The fact that I'm able to sometimes remember it, refer to my notes, but it's the active listening, isn't it? Really paying attention, not just pretending and thinking about what you're going to be asking them next, but really being in the conversation. Just makes people feel like they matter. And in the world of recruitment, there are so many businesses out there. How do you stand out? If you make people feel like they matter and you care and you're going to do a good job for them, whether they're a client or a candidate, then you're already giving yourself an advantage over many other businesses.
Yeah, it's one of the expressions we do. Obviously, here at iIntro, obviously we're both a technology provider, and we train and support recruiters in sort of transitioning from contingent recruitment through to retained recruitment or more exclusive recruitment. But there's a phrase that we use, and it's not ours; it's from Zig Ziglar. But you just said it exactly the same way. So I'm just going to sort of repeat it. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it's that part that you put in, I think it sort of brings it through. Anyway, moving on, because I'm just conscious of time. One of the things I just spoke there about how all the things like technology are sort of around there in the market at this moment in time. So what are your views on how people can strengthen their people skills and work confidently alongside technology?
I think like tech is great, isn't it? It is amazing. And AI is saving lots of people lots of time, which is great. But many of us haven't actually even really been taught how to communicate, how to have those difficult conversations, whether that's with someone within the business, whether that's someone in your personal life. And there was a great quote around the life that you're sort of due to live is living the other side of a difficult conversation. So don't put off the conversations, and whether that's a really positive one of saying thank you to somebody, following up with them, giving a candidate feedback, or whether that is a difficult conversation that is just making you feel really uncomfortable so you don't do it. Having those conversations with people strengthens your people skills, because we're all about communication, aren't we? And whether that is in person, on the phone, on a voice note, whatever that might be, whatever generation of sort of you're sitting within around the tech side, the people skills are so important, and yet they are so often what we are just not taught about. We know all about algebra and Shakespeare, but when are we taught about how to have a difficult conversation, or even how to actually compliment and praise in a way that feels genuine and feels authentic?
Yeah. And I think those people skills, those managerial skills, those life skills, that they're things that you can do. Now, one of the things that and I've worked with a number of coaches over the years, as shouldn't surprise you, shouldn't surprise anybody, because I think it's a really good thing, that external third party one. But there's one of these concepts that says, when we come back, we've got a high degree of motivation that comes from that. But how do you maintain that motivation so that you can build in that discipline that it lives longer than I feel really good now, but like a radioactive half-life, it goes down really quickly if you're not careful. What can we do to sort of protect that?
Oh yeah, wouldn't it be lovely if we all just motivated all of the time? That's just not real life at all. That can vary according to how much sleep you've had, how much alcohol you've had, or many different things. But it's really understanding, firstly, why you're doing something, whatever it is that you want to be motivated in, whether that is sort of building a business, building your desk, getting healthier, whatever it is, why are you doing it? Because if there isn't, and Simon Sinek has written the famous book, Start With Why, if you don't have a strong enough reason for doing something, you're probably not going to do it. And if we look at the world's most successful entrepreneurs or athletes and you dig into their stories, they have just got this sheer determination that no matter what, no matter how hard, they are still going to show up every day. And it's really trying to find that in yourself as to what is it that matters. And we think that in recruitment it's money, but it's about what money brings for you, and we're all different. So for one person that might be financial sort of stability, for someone else that might be about moving to a certain area because the schools are good for their children. But when you're trying to motivate yourself, or you're someone who's trying to motivate your team, what are the values of yourself? What are the values of your team? And how do you get into those real deep motivations? And that's when you really understand why someone is doing something. And it's not necessarily easy to find. Like, I worked really hard in my 20s, and I thought it was all about the fact that I wanted to be financially secure. And if it all went wrong, I could work in a supermarket. And actually, it wasn't until my 40s when I really realized it was none of that. It was my dad had told me that I basically needed a career that made loads of money. And all I cared about was making my dad proud. So in one way, thanks, Dad, because it really worked. But that was the thing that got me out of bed on a Monday morning. Like, an extra £1,000 in a commission check. I'm not saying we don't want that, of course, but what's the real driver as to why you're doing something? Because that's the thing that will then sort of live longer than the motivation will.
Good. Okay. Well, thanks very much. That's good. So again, obviously, you talk with a lot of leaders in the business and actually help them adopt and implement, I suppose, a culture, which is sometimes it's an overused and overworked phrase in some respect. But what can you do to help organisations create that type of, be it a high performance culture? And so, what is it that you bring that can sort of promote you, Michelle?
So when it's working with the leaders, it is that sort of top down. There is the tendency of kind of just hitting with the stick. And if we can create a culture where people sort of feel safe to be able to fail, safe to be able to ask questions. And like Computer Futures was a hard culture. And maybe I've got some rose tinted glasses, but I just felt like I was always supported. So the first thing is sort of working with the leaders to understand what sort of business it is that they want to build, what sort of culture that they want to drive, why they want that culture, and then how are they going to do that. And that's everything from the interview process, the type of people that they're hiring, the onboarding, the training, the day-to-day kind of accountability. But again, it comes to that sort of asking those difficult questions so that it's not just, oh, well, I'll just do what everybody else is doing. It's like, what's your legacy? Because I think with business owners, once you've got past the financial security bit that is the important bit sort of in recruitment when you start and you actually get to the point of leading a business, it's often about legacy and what is it that you want to be kind of remembered for. And people may well not have thought about that. And again, when you start to, you kind of feel that in your sort of your heart, that inner like, oh, okay, this is where it matters to be able to make a difference for people in whatever way that you want. So I think a lot of big questions, accountability is a really key thing to make sure that whatever someone is committing to doing, that they're going to hopefully do it. It's not always as easy as that, obviously, but it is almost having that. So people describe me as I'm that little voice on the shoulder that's like, oh, what would Michelle say? What would Michelle do? And most of my clients, they know if they're going to do something that isn't necessarily the best move for them, they know what I would say. So it's having that mirror almost to them as to go, am I doing this? Am I building the business that I want, that I'm going to be proud of? And am I going to be the leader that when people go on to future careers, as they will do, that they're going to say, there's the leader? And I'm sure anyone listening to this, we can all think of that one teacher, that one leader. Mine is Lucy Gilmore from Computer Futures. And I look back and you're just like, be that person.
Yeah, well, that's great. And as I say, the older we get, we look back, and it's not just about rose-tinted spectacles, by the way. It's rose-tinted corneas. I mean, because obviously we look back in such fondness, and that's what I'm saying. Listen, I'm a good bit older than you, so that's what I'm saying. Might have become good because you look back and the good old days, what it's like. But there's so many good things now that people have. There's so many things that are in some respects easier to do, but the disciplines that have to be instilled, from the leadership, the ownership of the business, and obviously when you're working for a great person, like you say, you want to get up and you want to go to work every Monday morning, in terms, and some of that being instilled through your family culture, but also your own personal worth. And you reference Simon Sinek. Why people say, there'll be some people who have never heard of Simon Sinek. Look him up. Watch that short video on the why. It's fascinating. You think, that sort of makes sense as to why you do it. But you've got to have your own why in terms of why you do it. But obviously, when you're trying to build your business, you're trying to make one of people, coalesce and come around you from that side of things. So,
what I would just say there, when I've sort of mentioned values, if people are kind of going, well, I know the ones that are written on the wall in the office, but you don't know your personal ones, drop me a message. I will send you over my values exercise. And I will tell you now that in the sort of probably over 5,000 recruiters I've done this exercise with, never, ever once have I had a recruiter have money as one of their final core values. Ambition, achievement, financial stability, absolutely. But even just understanding what your values are can be game changing in terms of how you decide to move forward. So I'm happy to send that to anyone who drops me a message, and do that exercise, do it with your team. And that's going to help you understand some real core motivations.
Great. Well, listen, one thing, it's not on the thing, but I just want you to have a final couple of minutes talking about breath work, if that's okay. I know I didn't ask you to do that, but just explain what that is to people and the importance of it, because as I say, I think it's fascinating. And as I say, I'm trying to remember, I need to rejig myself because I was going to do breathe anyway. But why don't you explain what it is, because it's probably I don't think it's well known, in my view, but I might be in the minority.
It's not well known, and still lots of people are very, very skeptical about it. And for me, I'm trained as a breathwork instructor in the science, so I can tell you all about the oxygen and the carbon dioxide if people want to dig into that. But let's have a look at all like the most successful athletes. What are they doing? Ronaldo, breath. Rory McIlroy, keeping his mouth shut, breathing through his nose. Novak Djokovic talks about it. And we might go, but we're not running around a football pitch. No, but we have to be able to keep ourselves calm when we're stressed. And there's lots of different things with breath work. We can go high energy like we did at Rec Expo. I can go deeply calming for people who need to get good sleep. I can help people when they're having panic attacks about sort of regulating their heart rate. So there's lots of different things that you can do with it. And I do it all with great house music so that it stops anyone that thinks it's all fluffy. But like literally, it is the most important thing. And it is absolutely the thing that anyone that I work with says it is the change, because it just opens up that thinking to then go and solve all the other problems, or to be able to get a good night's sleep. It starts with breathing, and it is so simple. Close your mouth, breathe through your nose, do it slowly. There's lots of other parts to it, and I think I probably did box breathing with you, which is breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4.
And again, higher and higher, you built up to quite a long time. So yeah.
Oh yeah, we can get to like 3-minute breath holds, and that's when the party starts. There's a whole like get high on your own supply. We can definitely do that with breath work.
Well, listen, I think that's a fascinating, it's another string to your bow and all part of Michelle Flynn coaching. So listen, Michelle, we've come to the end of our time, but it's been fascinating listening to you. I hope people have enjoyed listening to you as much as I have. And I hope they do reach out and get in touch with you. Obviously, we put your website up there a few times. If you want to get out in touch with our intro, you can just book a meeting with us, retainedcall.com. That'll take you to book a meeting with us as well. But thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us. Look forward to catching up with you again on the circuit somewhere. Thanks for joining us and sharing. It's been fascinating having you with us today.
Thank you very much, James. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.